The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist. Kaiser Soze in the movie The Usual Suspects. Kaiser in German means emperor. Soze comes from Turkish and it essentially means to drown with words, to talk a lot without saying much but creating a lot of confusion. Very much like what postmodernism is. The character was inspired by real-life murderer John List and the spy thriller No Way Out, which featured a shadowy KGB mole who may or may not actually exist. So, I don't know how many of you have followed what's been going on with Jordan Peterson, but the latest developments insofar as his disease and his drug problem and all that is very shady, shadowy, kind of weird. Now, I'm not going to cover the whole story. There's plenty of information out there. You could look into it if you feel like it. But basically, he ended up in Russia, of all places, in a coma after submitting himself to some weird, unconventional treatment for his drug problem after somebody gave him some really bad medical advice. Now, I don't agree, and this should go without saying, with everything that Jordan Peterson has ever said, but there's one thing that he, in my opinion, is very right about. And he was one of very few people to talk about this. And he was the only person in the entire world to start talking about this and gain such great notoriety, become so popular so quickly. And the thing that he talked about is basically how Marxism has rebranded itself and started calling itself postmodernism. It's done a lot more than that. There are so many words you use, perhaps daily, that in actuality are Marxist terms, mean Marxism in and of itself sometimes. But nobody knows this. Nobody seems to know this. Because these neo-Marxists, let's be a little bit more precise, have basically rebranded himself. After Marx's name was besmirched for all the right reasons, it wasn't cool to be a Marxist. So they started calling themselves all kinds of things, just how Tristan pointed out in one of his Primal Edge Health live streams, how the robber barons, for example, in the United States rebranded themselves as philanthropists, right? Marxists did the same thing. And he was onto that, and he was pointing this out. He was making the connection, not to say he completely understood what happened, how it happened, not to say that I do, but he was on the right track and he was making a connection. And that was part of the reason and part of his appeal, because Jordan Peterson, and it's not just about Marxism, he has this gift of saying things that no one seems to be talking about. But after he says them, everybody says, duh, everybody knows that. And yet, nobody's talking about these things. This is a photo I found in this article you've been checking out. And immediately, it just struck me as so illustrative. Is that the word I'm looking for? Of what it is that I'm talking about, of what it is that Jordan Peterson's been talking about. So what you're looking at is anti-Russian protesters who installed a golden toilet on the plinth that was once the home of the statue of Lenin. After they toppled the statue of Lenin, they put a golden toilet with some roses in it. Now, where are all my art buffs? What does that look like to you? This great postmodernist work of Duchamp called the Urinal, right? That's it. Now, in my opinion, somebody told these useful idiots to do this because they wanted to send a message to all the enlightened ones, all the illuminated ones, and those people smart enough to catch on to what's going on. So while these people think they are toppling communism, Marxism, the old Marxism, right, which is what's happening, they're ushering in neo-Marxism, which eventually was rebranded as postmodernism, right, or had already been in existence. It's all right there for you, right? So my theory is that Jordan Peterson was onto something. He is onto something. This is something that has been lacking in the public discourse. There's a Marxist word, neo-Marxist, postmodernist word for you right there. What is it? Try to figure out what discourse means, and it'll help you understand postmodernism, even though you won't be able to understand what discourse actually is. Go look it up. He made the connection, I think, and he put it on a platform, getting millions of views online and growing in popularity, with a lot of people starting to talk like him, myself included. He put me onto something, and since then I've been able to find other people who are nowhere near as popular as he is talking about this stuff, and it's all making sense. So I think he got too big too quickly, and he was exposing the Kaiser, the devil. He was exposing the devil's trick, which is exactly what he said many times over. How the Marxists have rebranded themselves and tricked everybody. And in my opinion, he had to be silenced. Apparently, and this is weird, I don't know if it's still the case, but he was unable, even though he came to after his whole ordeal in a coma and almost dying several times, apparently he's unable to speak. Well, hopefully he regains his ability to speak one day and starts making public appearances again. And we'll see if his story changes. You can say whatever you want about Jordan Peterson, that he doesn't get it, he says the most obvious things ever, or that he's wrong about this or that and hasn't been perfectly honest about himself in the past, and he likes to self-aggrandize because he's somewhat of a narcissist or has some narcissistic qualities. Yeah. Sure, Sherlock. But unlike most of you geniuses out there, he's figured this shit out. Grew his platform and was waking people up. And I think he had to be gotten rid of. Because the devil doesn't want his trick to be known. Basically. That's my video. Hope you liked it. Take care.